head turns. And center. And head rolls. And down to center and reverse. And down to center and back up. Forward spinal wave. And reverse. And good. And the qua. And reverse. And good. And reverse. The grindstone. And reverse. And all the way. So I'll tell you guys a story. Remember yesterday and the day before, I was talking about when you move in Tai Chi and also in Qigong, you should be aware of the fact that you're in water, so to speak. All right, this is not a vacuum. It's a medium, and it's actually a lot thicker than you think it is. So when you move in it, you should let yourself feel some resistance. When you lift your arms, there's a little resistance to that lifting. When you press down, there's a little resistance to that pressing. That changes your relationship with the world and also your relationship with yourself. So here's the story. I would, when I started with Master Zhang for the first couple of years, I would just follow doing whatever he was doing. It probably was kind of sketchy. I actually worked with him for about 2 years before I actually started to commit to actually doing the to really doing it. Um, I realized you either got to dive in or else give this up because you can't go halfway. At least I couldn't go halfway. So I started really watching him, and I noticed when he did this movement that his hands were just hanging there, and that he was lifting something with his, or it seemed like he was lifting something with his wrists. So I remember the very first day that I tried to do that, and I did do that. All right, lift like this. And he was walking. He was walking. We were, in a group session, and we were doing it. And he was walking around, commenting to people. And he saw me do this, and then squeeze like there was something there. He was squeezing something, and then pressing down into the Dan Chen. And he just looked at me and he went, How? How is Chinese for good? How? That was it. For Master Zhang, that was as much as you were ever going to get. Oh, unless he said, Hun Hao. Hun Hao means very good, all right? Um, but he immediately saw that I had changed the way I was doing things. Instead of doing this, it's just kind of, instead, right? You're lifting something. You're squishing, you're pressing something, you're condensing something, you're pressing it down. Boom. Now you do that for a few years and you don't think about it anymore. It just sort of happens. So even when I was trying to fake it and just doing this, I was actually still doing it. I was actually still lifting, pressing down. You develop a different way of moving in the world, and it's so becomes so deeply ingrained in you. You don't think about it. You just move that way. Anyway, think about it. Right? That's what the practice is about. So when you do any of these exercises, don't do them empty. Empty means your mind is somewhere else. Oh, I've got to go to the dentist later today. So you're thinking about the dentist. Don't think about the dentist. Think about the practice you're doing. Uh, or maybe think about is the wrong word. Just be there in the practice.
I have a question though,
Yes.
because I mean, this definitely gives me another layer of what I'm doing, but then it's like this idea of holding, because I always envision that it's like I'm gathering the universe and pulling it in,
Yes.
and but because there's water, it's yeah, it
Yeah.
just doesn't.
It's not empty.
No,
This is not empty space.
Uh,
It's, we are
but
in something.
but yeah, but that I guess that it's the universe has weight.
Yeah, you could say,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Um,
and
what is the name of that? I was in a grad school class once, and a famous physicist, just I can't remember his name now, came over from Stanford and talked with us about the it's not the right word, but it's something like the universal vacuum force. We think outer space is just a vacuum, there's nothing there. He said in every cubic centimeter of outer space, there's enough energy to run the world for a year. All right? It's, it's not empty. The problem is we can't access it, but it's actually there. So, all around us, there are realities that we just don't see. All right? But actually, those realities are there. There is a reality. You're swimming in this air. All right? In every cubic centimeter of space around you, there's enough energy to run the world for a year or more. So don't get complacent. You know, um, I was just reading an article about our mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, right? It turns out the mitochondria really affect your nervous system and your mind because the mitochondria are actually bacteria, independent bacteria that somehow got incorporated in the cells back 2 billion years ago, and now every animal has mitochondria in their cells, but they're still independent bacteria. And from their point of view, you're just an environment. And so they adjust their environment to be better for them. And if they need to adjust your mood, they can adjust your mood. All right? Anyway, it was a very interesting article. Okay, exercises. When you do this exercise, you need to pay attention to the qua. And this is not going to be obvious. Now this is true not just for this exercise, but for any exercise that engages the qua, which is pretty much every exercise. Right? It's I'm going to go over here. It's easy to see that this qua on the right side opens up and it stretches out. And then when you go on this side, it's easy to see the red qua opens up and stretches out. What you don't see is the other qua needs to close and drop down. It's just a little hard to see. But let's say I'm going here, this is going to open up and stretch out. This one needs to sink down. So one is stretching and the other is condensing. One is stretching forward, the other is condensing backward. If you were here for the classes yesterday, I was talking a lot about for every action there needs to be an opposite and equal reaction. So if this is coming forward and up, something's got to go down and backwards. All right? And in this case, the pelvis, both the pelvis and the shoulders, work in that way. This one's stretching open and coming out, sort of toward the front, right, toward there. That means this one's going to have to be doing just the opposite. What happens for most folks, well, actually most of the time, is they get one side of this, but they're just not aware of the other side. So if I'm going to punch, all right, it's real obvious this has to open up and come forward, right? Because I'm punching. But there's a lot less awareness. Well, oh, okay, well, if that's happening, something else needs to be happening on the other side. If this is going to open up and punch forward, this needs to close down and move back. All right, watch. All right, they work together. When you're doing a Tai Chi form, and let's say there's a punch in there or something, sometimes, particularly at the beginning, it's difficult to remember to do that. So the place to do it is in Silk Reeling and the other Qigong series because it's repetitive. So we're going to do this, 40 times in a row. Okay, well that gives you plenty of time to pay attention. Now, after you do that for a few weeks, and then you go to the form and you get to the place where there's the punch, you'll just do it naturally. You don't even have to think about it because it's already ingrained in the body. Same thing if you're doing cloud hands. This side is opening up and coming forward, which means this side needs to close down and go backward. when you do that particular version of cloud hands, you should think of the circle that you're making is a ping circle, right? So remember, there's four sides to every circle. You got to square every circle. So the first part of this comes up, and then it goes out. Right? Just going to go straight out from the body. You come up to your shoulder, right? And then you go straight out. Then you go over to the side, right? And then you come back in. Go out, 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 out. Okay, if you're going out, something's got to be going backwards. All right? See if you can feel it in your body, because your body should just do this naturally. And you think about what it is you might be doing. No, that's a block. Right? Somebody's hand is coming in and it's going to punch you in the nose, right? So you come up and then you press out. So you're actually doing something, and then you move him aside, and then you come back and you do it for his evil twin brother. Press out. When you press out here, where in your body do you feel something going backward? Just naturally. Okay, so these are, I'll point out what's happening with this, but this is a very general principle. The side of your body that's holding the weight is the active side. So, right, if my weight is over here on the red side, right, that means this side of my body is the most active. So that's why my hand is actually over here, because it's on the active side of the body. And it's the active side of the body that's going backward. It's going backward and forward. All right? Forward and also backward. And you can feel it. Some of it is right up here at the level where your hand is. Some of it you can feel is actually back here in what are called the loins. Right? What are the loins? The loins are the muscles between your hips and your ribs in your back. All right? So you gird up your loins and fight like a man, right? You push, push, push. You can feel your loins being activated. You can actually feel your leg all the way down to the floor. Fine, or we can do it this way. Doesn't matter. They both work the same way. Okay, here's the thing. If you don't know about the side that's going back, what happens is you end up powering the push from your shoulder. I'm pushing with my shoulder. One, it's weak, and two, you're going to hurt your shoulder. Right? You're going to rip your rotator cuff trying to wrestle with somebody. But if you engage the side going backward, it's the side going backward that powers this, not your shoulder. Your shoulder just stays very neutral. Right? You hardly feel anything at your shoulder. So when I'm pushing out, what's powering that is the stuff that's going back. When you first start an exercise like this, where you realize, okay, if I'm going to push out, I'm powering that by something in my body going back. It's going to feel pretty subtle, right? But think about this. The strength of your push has to do with the strength of what's going back. So you do these exercises in order to figure out how to do this with some strength. The timing and the strength comes from what's going backward. If you're sparring with someone, or even just doing push hands with someone, you might do a block like that. There's two ways to do the block: the right way and the wrong way. The wrong way is to use your muscles. Oh, I've got strong arms, and I'm going to use my muscles. Um, Again, that's about using your shoulder and your arm. What you want to use is the mass of your body. It's the whole body going back presses that out. It's not that the muscles aren't involved. Of course they're involved, but you're not relying on your muscle strength. You're relying on your whole body power. Catherine, do you have a question?
Yeah. Um, you said you need to feel it back, but I feel it really mostly like getting into the ground, like really being grounded.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. It's all of the above.
Oh, it's all of the above.
When I push out like that, I should feel really grounded in that foot.
Okay.
Because it's the whole side, all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
And now on this side. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. This is exactly the kind of observation you need to make of your own movement. So Grandmaster Fung used to say, you learn the form, you learn the exercises, and they will teach you. I'm not your teacher. The tradition is your teacher. Right? If you pay attention to these simple principles and really look inside, then the exercises and the forms themselves will teach you, because they're like the Tai Chi form is like the DNA code. There's so much information coded into the form itself. It's took 500 years to build those forms, right? So you pay attention. How do you pay attention? You make observations, just like Catherine did. All right? If you feel grounded, you're probably correct, right? We did another exercise earlier where we did the quote unquote windmill. What happens with most folks when they do the windmill is they're doing something called duela, floating. They're actually not even in contact with the ground, right? Yes, physically they're in contact, but not energetically. When you do these motions, you should be all the way down under your foot here, right? Under your foot. Now under your foot on this side. When you do the grindstone, watch this. It's not just floating like this. It's sinking down under the foot and then bringing it up from the foot, right? And it hits in the back, right? It hits on your SI joint. You go down to the bottom of the left foot, and then you come up and around and pop, right? Not on your spine, but actually on your hip joint, on the SI joint. You don't have to hit hard. You just pop it a little bit, so it's kind of like a massage. But this sequence here is not empty. It should be full. All right. Go down to the bottom of the ground. Boom. Now go down to the bottom of the ground. Boom. Bottom of the ground. Boom. Bottom of the ground. Bottom of the ground. Bottom of the ground. All right. So the whole exercise from beginning to end is full. You feel full. Feel like someone pumped you up. Okay. Questions? Every exercise. Yeah, Jack.
So I'm noticing two different things. When we do this, like if I'm striking with my right hand, then I'm coming off my right leg. Right?
If you're striking with your right hand, it depends on which side of the body you're striking on. If you're striking on the right side of the body with the right hand, then yes, you're coming off the right hand. If you're striking on the left side of the body, you're actually going to be coming off the left side.
Right. So what I'm saying is this action, cloud hands, we're coming off the opposite leg.
Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean, but if
so like this is the leading hand, this is my right hand.
Right.
If I'm going like this, then this is where it's coming from.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, correct. Absolutely. And guys, you know, a lot of this stuff, when you would observe masters Zhang or Feng, when you would push hands with them, most of the movement was internal. So Master Zhang used to say, I'll do it in English. He used to say, if I don't show you, you won't see it. The movements of what we're talking about today is Negong, the inner body skills. And he would say, if I don't show you what I'm doing, if I don't exaggerate it and make it obvious, you're not going to see it. Because it's so integrated into what he was doing that he could do something and get his power out of it. And it was so subtle, it was so minor that you didn't even see it. All right? So, you know, we're doing exercises like this. You know, he would do them like this. That's all it takes. because he's done 40 or 50 years of these exercises, and his musculature and his nervous system, everything is so efficient now that he can do with 1% of the energy what you have to do with 100% of your energy. All right. So it's just like learning to play a musical instrument. At first, you probably have to be pretty gross movements with it. But over time, you get much more sophisticated, much more efficient, and then you can be much more delicate and still get the effects that you want out of it. So yes, Jack, your observation is correct. All right, guys, let's meet again tomorrow. Have a good day. We'll see you then. Ciao.